The Texas A&M Aggies taking on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. It's SEC against Big 12, December the 27th, a 9 p.m. Eastern kickoff on ESPN. Guys, this game being played in Houston, Texas at NRG Stadium. The line currently, Texas A&M is a 3-point favorite. The over-under set at 53.5. And as you look at this game, guys, opt-outs and transfer portal entries, declarations for the NFL draft, players not being available is a huge storyline, not just in this game, but many others across the country as well. But certainly in this one, Texas A&M being severely affected. And, I guess it's something we should have expected with a coaching change. And, Mike Elko's been named the new head coach. But, it's almost like the bowl game is very, very secondary at this point. The bowl game does not feel like the most pressing matter. Obviously, Elko's out there recruiting, hiring a staff, getting his feet wet as head coach. I do not believe he's coaching in the bowl game. So there are a lot of moving pieces right now. Anais Smith has declared for the draft. Of course, Max Johnson, the quarterback, guys, he's already hit the portal and committed to North Carolina. They've got 3 offensive linemen that have hit the portal. Micaiah Overton and LT Overton, the defensive linemen, have hit the portal. Walter Nolan, Jordan Gilbert, other defenders as well. So Texas A&M has been absolutely ravaged by the transfer portal. And guys, this game is in 16 days. So who's to say there's not more? I think it'd be crazy not to expect more guys to enter their name into the transfer portal. So you really have to look around. And I know Texas A&M's got depth, don't get me wrong, but they are missing some key contributors and key pieces for this game against Oklahoma State. Of course, guys, the Cowboys, Ollie Gordon leads the way for OSU. What a fantastic season he had, 1,614 yards on the 2023 campaign, 20 total rushing touchdowns, average 6.3 yards per carry. And guys, they love to run the football. The boys from Stillwater do. Alan Bowman is their quarterback, over 3,000 yards passing, 13 TDs to 12 interceptions. So the turnover numbers are worrisome, but again, productive when he's not turning the football over. They got a fantastic playmaker on the outside, a couple of them actually. Brennan Presley and Rashad Owens, the fantastic wide receivers. Presley with over 800 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. Owens with over 700 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns on the season. But again, guys, for Oklahoma State, it starts with Ollie Gordon, the fantastic running back. Guys, here's a really, really interesting stat in this game. Because Texas A&M and OSU, obviously, they got a long history of playing each other back when A&M was actually in the Big 12 and competing against them yearly. But the Aggies, get this, in their last 6 matchups against the spread against Oklahoma State, Texas A&M is 0-5-1 in their last 6 matchups against the Cowboys. So they have not fared well. Have not covered. Again, guys, I'll remind you, A&M, a 3-point favorite. A matchup to watch in this game, guys. Texas A&M, they've been elite all year when it comes to pass rush. And yes, they are missing some guys, but they're still led by Edrin Cooper at the linebacker position. He was great for them this year, flying all over the field. Sort of served like that Harold Perkins role for Texas A&M this year, that do-it-all playmaker on defense at the linebacker position. But Texas A&M as a defense generated 42 sacks this season. They were one of the best in all of college football. Oklahoma State, only 13 sacks allowed. So is Texas A&M able to get after the quarterback, or is Oklahoma State, their big physical offensive line, able to push A&M around and win at the line of scrimmage? Certainly, that's going to be a key matchup to watch. It's good on good. Really excited to see how that plays out. And guys, something we'll be talking about a lot when it comes to these teams in bowl games, again, is the motivation factor. Are the Aggies looking more so forward to the Elko era? Like, what's the excitement level? Not just from the A&M fan base, the coaching staff, but these players. This team. How much does winning the Texas Bowl matter to the folks down in College Station? I don't know that it really does. And then for Oklahoma State on the other side, they had a disappointing finish to their season, but a season in which they went to the Big 12 championship game, took on Texas, lost the game, of course. But I think what you have to try to do in these bowl games, you have to try to read between the lines and see, okay, who's got more to gain? Who's playing for more, right? Who is more excited? Who's more fired up? Who's more motivated? And that's something that can be really, really difficult to gauge. But you have to think about that because, guys, like you look at last year, you look at the last couple of years, you look at bowl games, it really makes sense after the fact. It's like, oh, man, we had all these clues that this team wasn't ready. This team wasn't motivated. This team wasn't fired up and excited to play. And it really helps you to just see things clearly, separate the forest from the trees. But again, a really fun matchup, I think, guys. A&M and OSU, Oklahoma State, again, offensively. I won't say they're a juggernaut, but they've been really, really good this year. You look at them as a team passing the football for over 260 yards per game. Again, like I mentioned, it starts with Ollie Gordon, but they can throw the football as good as anybody. The offensive line's been fantastic. For Texas A&M, guys, what I think is really interesting at the quarterback position, like I mentioned, Connor Wegman, been hurt all year. Max Johnson has entered the portal. He's at North Carolina. He ain't playing in this game. So they're turning to Jalen Henderson. You're like, who? Jalen Henderson, 52 of 77, 704 passing yards this season, 6 touchdowns, 2 picks to his credit. He did actually play the entire LSU game. He was solid in that game. He was actually pretty good. Again, that was against the LSU defense, which LSU's defense has made pretty much everybody look good. But still, at least he got his feet wet. At least he got some experience. So it's not like you're starting a guy who has never played before, but certainly how does that impact Texas A&M offensively? A brand new quarterback, Jalen Henderson. They're going to have to lean on that running game of Amari Daniels, Le'Veon Moss. Daniels over 500 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. Moss just under 500 and 5 touchdowns to his credit as well. Again, guys, losing Aniyah Smith is killer. Evan Stewart, I believe, is questionable for this game. So they're going to have some guys step up. Also, Jake Johnson is gone, the big-time tight end they leaned on a lot this season. So it is very much so a ragtag A&M roster in comparison to what they fielded this season. Now, guys, for my prediction, again, Texas A&M, 3-point favorites in the ball game, over/under set at 53.5. And if you were keeping up, I've already locked in my gambling picks for bowl season. I love the over in this game. The over, if you actually go back and look, I don't have the stats pulled up right in front of me, but the over has hit more often than not, for whatever reason, when these two teams face off. Like I mentioned many times, guys, in this segment, I think you really have to think about the motivation factor when you talk about these bowl games. You got to really try to read between the lines. Okay, who's more fired up? Who's more excited to play? Who has more to gain from a game like this? Because on paper, talent-wise, I'd probably say Texas A&M is the more talented team. I'd say top to bottom, Texas A&M has more talent. But guys, when they had a head coach, I wouldn't trust Texas A&M as far as I could throw them. And so now you're going to tell me without a head coach, with guys hitting the portal left and right, a lot of their best players, they're going to go out there and play their best game and beat what I think is a really quality Oklahoma State team? I think the wrong team is favored in this game, guys. I like OSU a lot. I think because of what Texas A&M has lost in their front seven, I think Ollie Gordon, they will be able to run the football. The quarterback's job, don't lose the game. Don't lose the game. He's got to limit the turnovers. But that offensive line has been so good all year long. Let Ollie Gordon work. You got a brand new quarterback practically for Texas A&M. Again, guys, I know he was good in that game against LSU, but everybody looks good against LSU's defense. You know, how much can you realistically ask Jalen Henderson to do? And guys, I think the focus down in College Station, and I don't know if Aggie fans would admit it, and it's okay, right? It is what it is. It happens to the best of us, but the focus down in College Station, it's not on winning the Texas Bowl. The focus down in College Station is the Mike Elko era, his hiring of coordinators, his hiring of staff, and what the new era looks like. The Texas Bowl is a footnote to Texas A&M, while to Oklahoma State, there's a lot on the line in the way they can pad their 2023 season, and Mike Gundy and company can use that as momentum moving forward. Again, I think you see from the opt-outs, from the guys declaring early, from the guys leaving, I don't think Texas A&M is really all that invested in this thing for that reason. I do think Oklahoma State, again, wrong team is favored here. A&M -3, wrong team is favored. Not only does OSU cover, I think OSU wins straight up in this game. Like I mentioned, guys, I love the over, but I also love Oklahoma State to win this thing straight up, beat Texas A&M, lock me in. I've got Cowboys 31, Aggies 24. Again, at full strength, I think Texas A&M is the better team, but they're not at full strength. And like I mentioned, I didn't trust Texas A&M as far as I could throw them when they had a head coach. Now they're going to go into a bowl game that I'm sure their entire fan base, their football team is deeming as meaningless with no head coach. And I'm supposed to expect they're going to show up and play their best brand of football and win this game over a quality OSU team? Absolutely not. Give me Oklahoma State. I'm riding the Cowboys all day long to win the Texas Bowl.